Hello, and welcome to Tell Me About Your Book. My name is John Christian. Today, my guest is self-published author Jason Nadler. He is a retired volunteer firefighter who has taken on the task of writing a trilogy about witches. Sound interesting? Then stay tuned. Hi, Jason. Welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Now, you are writing a trilogy. I find that most interesting. You got the first two books already published, I understand.
First two books are out. First
Okay.
one came out in September of last year. The second one in October of this year.
Excellent.
Well, last year, 2022.
Well, tell me all about your first book.
Okay, so the first book, here we go. The Books of Alexandria. It's the first book in the trilogy is The Book Club. It is about magic and witches. The premise is that witches are real, but we don't experience magic. We don't know magic, just like we don't in this world. And part of the reason for that is magic has always been innate with women. Women have always been witches, but for time immemorial, a small group of men have hunted witches. They've stolen their magic, put it into a library and into books that only they can read and only they can control. And there's a young woman, Alexandria Hawthorne, who is the key to taking it all back. The unfortunate thing is that not only does Alex not know any of this, but to protect her growing up, she can't even hear people talk about magic. Her father basically cursed her so that she doesn't even believe magic is real until it is finally revealed to her.
Does this take place in our world or is it a created world? Oh, okay.
Our world.
Okay. And what part of the world is it taking place in?
It takes place in upstate New York.
Oh, great. I know that area very well. I used to climb near Lake Placid. Is it anywhere near there?
It's a fictional town, kind of somewhere between Albany and the Finger Lakes.
Okay, I know that area very well. Beautiful area.
Yes.
And now what made you choose that area?
It was an area I was familiar with growing up. We used to vacation in Albany and the Finger Lakes and always driving through, and the Appalachian Mountains are just it's a few hours outside of New York City, and it's just completely rural and rugged and beautiful.
Now, these witches in your story,
Yes.
they are friendly? Are they good? And the people wanting to hurt them are bad? How does this work? Who's on what team?
So, so like in this world, everyone has their own self-interest at stake. There are men who we assume are bad. We are introduced to everyone through our main character, Alexandria, and she only knows people through her lens. So people who are looking to try to stop her or to take her magic, they come across as bad, but they have their own things going on that are putting them in this position, their own beliefs that women shouldn't have magic. They're too emotional. It's too dangerous. This is why men have been taking their magic away. Whereas the witches, they are a small group of women who are believers. Most of them have never seen magic before. They've just kind of had this promise keeping them together that one day when Alex is old enough, the truth will be revealed and she will become a witch, and they will all be the people who have helped her achieve that goal. And the book is called The Book Club because if you have to meet once a month, it is much easier to tell the people around you that you're going to your book club meeting than for your coven.
Sounds like there may be a little bit of social commentary there.
Oh, absolutely. Part of where this book came from was watching my wife go through business. She's just a phenomenal woman, very intelligent, very capable. And she'd get hired for a job, and the salary requirement would come out, and she'd be told they can't pay her that much. And a few weeks later, they'd hire her male counterpart at the salary that she had asked for. And it's everyday sexism. We see it, and it was it just kind of made sense, especially in today's climate.
Right, right. You think you did a good job at that?
I hope so. Um,
I hope
I
so too.
have I have my own book club of fans who mostly women who really have enjoyed the book so far.
I think it's wonderful. I think
Thank
it's
you.
wonderful you've done that. So it ends. Hopefully, it ends on a positive note, or how does it end before the second book? And how does the second book relate to the first one?
All three books end up being one continuous story. So the first book is really about Alexandria's discovery of magic, and that's really how it ends, with her finally having magic, going through the trials and the tribulations to first remove the curse that prevents her from even hearing about magic. But then there's some time travel involved. There's learning about other witches. There's that people around her only know so much, and we're only prepared so much. And it's very quick that they reach that point where they're on that precipice of, okay, this is as far as I was prepared to go, and everything beyond here is unknown. And Alex is a young woman. She has her cousins with her, twin boy and girl, Rose and Billy. And she goes off into the unknown with them, finding herself, but also finding magic. And that's where the first book ends. And the second book starts right from there, where now that she has magic, she is on the radar of some other people, not just the people who are after her in the beginning. The villain in the first book is this man, Matthew, who is tied up in her family. Although she sees him as her enemy, her father worked with him. And part of the preparation in preparing Alex was because of Matthew. And we learned that Matthew was doing all these things and looking to get magic into Alexandria to defeat one of the people who is responsible for this library, Jeremiah. And she gets to meet Jeremiah in the second book, and it does not go well for her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sounds like a lot of character development. Do you get close to your characters, do you?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
There are a handful of main characters. We have Alex. She lives with her aunt Heather. Heather's two children, Billy and Rose. That's the core group. There's Abby, who is Heather's friend, but also was friends with Alex's parents before they passed. And they are this core group of women who and Billy, who are there to protect Alex. And especially Abby will go to great lengths to make sure that Alex stays safe.
So you're taking basically a story that mirrors our existing society here, at least, in Western civilization, because other
Right.
countries are even worse. But let's just stick to America. Yeah, there's obviously a disparity between men and women. And that's what you've done here, is put it into a fictional form,
Right.
again, as a social commentary.
Right. Trying to just make a metaphor of the situation.
Yeah.
It is learning how some of the things that we believe to be true end up just being things that have been passed down, that were rules that really don't actually mean anything, that we take as fact. And that is one of the things that Alex and her friends have to learn, that some of the things that they've been taught, some of the warnings that some of the things they've been warned about, they're not allowed to cross those barriers. And when they come up upon them and realize they have no option, they realize that those warnings were really there to keep women from achieving certain things.
Well, I like the analogy of witchcraft and what you've done here. How much research did you put into actual witchcraft? There are witches in this world. There's a religion, I guess, where people call themselves witches. I know of a person like that. Does that have anything to do with what you're talking about?
Not really. Some of the women in the group, I think would qualify, or if they walked into a Wiccan group, would not seem out of place. But I really didn't want to take anything away from the people who believe in those things. It was really important to me for this to be something completely different and completely new, and to be very much mine. So a lot of the rules of the universe, a lot of the various aspects of the story. One of the things I've always done since I'm a child was to kind of create my own mythologies. We own cats. They're always sitting on books, sitting on newspapers. So why is that? And that's one of the things that's explained in the book. What happens when you dream? What happens when you die? How the mythologies and the religions that we've come to believe in or have heard about have a certain, you can start to see where those things came from as Alex explores and experiences the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you've talked quite a bit about magic. Do you mind giving me an example of what sort of magic happens in this
Sure.
story? Sure.
So for Alex and for any of the men who read, magic is, you can only enhance things that can be done in nature to begin with. So there's wind, there's rain, there's lightning. That is everybody's favorite weapon of choice. Women have always had the ability, whether they have magic or not, to heal. It's mom kissing the boo-boo away. There's the magic that allows people to cross into the dream realm. They call it the between. The second book takes place, a lot of it takes place on the between, this idea that there's this place where when you're dreaming, you're going there, but if you have the right magic, you can go there while you're awake as well. And we learn that women have these meeting places in these markets, and they're able to go and trade ideas. And it isn't so prominent in this country because we've forgotten it. It's a lot of the African and the Middle Eastern and Eastern European countries where women are allowed to have these experiences while they're sleeping, where they're going to these places and having these very rich social lives with people that they've never met in real life.
Now, this is a trilogy. You got two books
Yes.
published. You were obviously working on a third. How
Yes.
close are you now?
Well, I wrote all three books before I published the first one. I wanted to make sure that there would be no retconning anywhere at the third book. I wanted to make sure that, when you finish that third book, you can go back to the first book and realize that everything was there in the first couple of chapters. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going through my stages of editing. After I write the book, I go through it and I edit for clarity, and then I edit for emotion and tension. And I'm on that last stage of emotion and tension, at which point it goes to my beta readers. I'll take their notes back. And while the beta readers have it, I sit with my wife, and every night we read a few chapters aloud. There are things you miss when you're reading in your own head that you don't miss when you're reading aloud. So once my beta readers are done, I take their notes, I decide what really has merit, and my notes, one final editing pass, and then I have a fantastic editor who I work with. And we sit on Zoom and go through the book basically line by line. And she prepares her edits in advance, and we discuss why she made the change and whether I feel that improves or takes away from the book. Then we go to publication. So I'm aiming for late summer, early fall.
Okay. 2023.
Yep.
Good. So when did you start writing this trilogy?
2017. I started writing. I was a volunteer firefighter, and I had said to my wife that I wanted to. Always had this desire to write a book. I've been um, writing since I'm a child. I wrote my first novella in sixth grade. In college, I wrote a trilogy that never went anywhere. I realized at that age I didn't have the emotional maturity to really tell the sort of story that I wanted to. So I kind of put writing on the back burner, and I was getting closer and closer to 50, and the itch started happening again. And I told my wife, and she said, go ahead, let's see what happens. And I spent a year working on that original trilogy again, writing up character cards and writing up outlines. And she came over to me one day and she said, "You've been doing this for almost a year. You haven't written a word yet. If you want me to support you, just write a story." And I took 2 weeks to come up with something, and the Books of Alexandria kind of popped into my head. Like I said, I've been playing with all these mythologies, and I just sort of tied them into this one world. And I developed vertigo and had to take some time off from the fire department. And that allowed me to start really writing. And I came to this place where I realized that on one side, I had the fire department and I had public service, and that was really important to me. And on the other side, I had writing and my lifelong dream and what I felt was a really good, really important story to tell. And I had to make a choice. And it took me several months, but I finally, I put in my resignation to the fire department. And then I was able to write every day. I have a full-time job. I'm a project manager. And I come home and my wife is extraordinarily flexible with my time, where, I'll sometimes write before dinner, or I'll sometimes write after dinner. And it's a daily activity that I have.
That sounds very nice.
Thank you.
So how are sales for you?
I'd love to say they're better. I'm probably doing better person to person than I am on the various platforms. The first book is only available on Amazon. I'm dealing with that to try to get it more broadly available. The second book is available more broadly, but I'm not doing any marketing right now because my focus is on finishing that third book. I've seen that when I'm working on social media and posting a lot, that book sales start tipping up. So better than expected, all things considered, but not as good as I'd like. But again, I can't complain because I'm not doing anything to facilitate that.
So after your trilogy, are you planning to write some more?
Oh, absolutely. I have a lot of ideas percolating, but the one that's hitting me most is I'm a big Shakespeare fan, and I really like the Henry IV Part 1 and 2, and I can just see it as a modern day story with a young woman taking the Prince Hal role. So the books would be called Hallie. This idea where instead of it being a kingdom, it's a really successful company where she is expected to take the mantle when her father retires, and she's too busy having fun just yet. So we'll see how that goes. I will probably play with that for a while.
Okay. You have to come back on the show and tell us all about that.
I'd love to.
All right. Jason, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. And
it's been a pleasure to be on.
I'm curious about your books. I like where you're going with that.
Thank you.
So I'd like to get back to that and finish that third book.
Absolutely.
All right.
Be working on it. Thank you so much for having me, John.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. And And that's our show for today. If you like what I do here on Tell Me About Your Book, then please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that bell for future notifications. And if you are a self-published author, I would really like to hear from you. Until such time, please keep on writing and be kind to one another.